Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable, where we're about to break down, discuss, unpack, and challenge pretty much anything spiritual. Together, we're going to embark on a journey of unlocking spiritual potential through a ton of things like healing, balance, oneness, devil's advocate, and so much more. We always promise to give you what you need and only sometimes what you want. I'm your host, Erika M, child of balance, and here with me, my co-host, is Miss Erin M, keys of wisdom 369.
Join us as we discuss the importance of not becoming your own personal astronaut. This is going to be raw, this is going to be real. Come join us.
Sometimes we just don't have words for things, and when we don't have words for things, it's troubling. And there's a large part of the collective that seems to be in a very stark divide, like a very stark one way or the other. A lot of people right now are struggling with their constructs and their concepts of self, the universe, their purpose, what it means. Am I right? Am I wrong? And I'm going to tell you right now, I have met more space cadets in the last month than I have in my entire life.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that in a hurtful way, but we will tie it back to energy of why I call it astronauts. And it's literally because you're doing too much. And you're doing too much in your air energy. And that's where you start and you get into liftoff.
Yes.
We're going to literally go through the importance of not being an astronaut. Because you can do rocket launches. I'm going to stick with the metaphor. You can do rocket launches. You can reach high heights. Be your giraffe, climb to the moon. Fantastic. When it becomes like a, whoa, buddy. When it becomes like a, you done lost your grip on reality. We're like sleeping with one eye open because we don't know like who's what. That's where it becomes a problem. In order for you to go, and I hear this all the time, like, well, I just want to do the cool stuff. I just want to talk to my guides. I just want to talk to aliens. That's fine. Everything's energy. Anything's a possibility. That's fine. The problem becomes is in order to do that and make sense of it and stay balanced in that limited practice of doing those things occasionally, you need to be grounded. The tree can't grow tall if it's not grounded in the dirt. What?
No, I was just going to say, when you said, you want to do all the fun things, right? But you have to be able to process and understand it. So, I just want to give a tangible example, right off the bat.
Yeah, go
If
for it.
you are to the moon and you are, Rocket Man, right? And you...
Alan John, please tell me you have your feather duster. Rocket Man. Oh my goodness.
But seriously, if you can't process this, and this is how I'm going to tell you can't process it. If you got to go ask somebody and pay somebody for a read because you don't understand something because you've shot yourself so damn high that you're swirling in it, and then you're going to argue with a person trying to give you clarity, you have shot yourself too far.
Well, and I just think it's important is you got to understand, we understand the depths of our universe, outside energy of others to the level we understand ourselves. So if our roots are not deep, if our roots are not extending into the ground, if we are not grounded in not only ourself, what we know, our foundations, but quite literally in our reality, because hello, we're in a vessel, then what happens is we lose touch. We lose touch of what is etherical and what is right in front of us. And when those lines blur, that's like a dangerous slope to be on, because if you are spending more time up in space, up in the air energy, up in, your etherical connections, then you are living, being human. You are misunderstanding your assignment.
You're literally dissociating.
If you were meant, if you were meant to be a space cadet and only be energy, and I don't mean that in like a negative way, but it's like
No.
if you were meant to only be energy, if you were meant to
Yeah.
only do etherical things, if you were only meant to be of energy and to just live in astral or to be focused
Mhm.
on planets and all, you wouldn't need a vessel. There would be no reason for you to be a human right now. You would have stayed somewhere else. You wouldn't have landed. You wouldn't have been born. There is no reason for you to be here. And then those
Correct.
people are searching for their purpose. And then that's where, in our height of enlightenment, in our height of air energy, because a lot of times the ego talks to us through our mind, a lot of times we start confusing our intuition and connection with the voice of our ego. And that's where a lot of times that differentiation happens. And that's where a lot of times we get that ego boost. And a lot of people will say, like, now all of a sudden we're kind of steering towards psychosis, to where it's now we're the rulers of this planet and now we're saving everybody. And now all of a sudden we have a million friends that we're deeming very close relatives, close relationships, friends, they're out for me, right? Like all these great things, but they don't exist in a vessel here. You can have a team, you can have entities and energies, deities, gods, beings that you work with, fantastic. But we should not be working with those things more than we work with the physical world, or we are missing the point. And that's the
Correct.
key. If I am escaping human relationships to find and entertain etherical relationships more than human ones, you are missing the point. And it's like, and it's really simple. Like people be like, well, I have like, relations with these kinds of spirits or elemental spirits. That's fine. But you still have a relation to the physical elements. You still have a relationship to the earth, to nature, and you're still there. But there's still that line you have to walk. Because I'm sorry, you're not in some magical fairy dragon land where dragons fly through the sky and you're picking your wand, Harry Potter. That's just not where you live. And that's really like, it's really important. And the way that you look at that is extremely important. And it's not that that's wrong. It's just that we're taking it out of the realm of actionable energy, and we are now creating a fantasy realm. We are now creating an illusion that is keeping us trapped in our upper dantian. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that when we create with the imagination only, you are stuck in your mind. Hello,
Yep.
astronaut. Hello, space. Hello, air energy, because we are only reaching upward. And that's where confusion comes from. Have you noticed that the people who reach more upwards, what they say doesn't make sense? There's no logical, rational, grounded thought process behind it. A lot of times, sometimes even full sentences don't make sense. They can't even get out like a thought, and you're like, what are you talking about? You just said, oh, well, and now we're like co-signing our own bullshit, to where it's like, well, now we have 7 different things that contradict each other, but we're telling ourselves that this is really right. It's like, that is dangerous, but that is also the power of your mind. If you choose to use it as a weapon that benefits you, instead of escaping what you don't like about where you're at right now in the physical, like, because that's really, you touched on it really early when we first started talking, and it's literally, but that's it. There's a reason that you are negating the physical reality and you are searching for something more. Even if it's as simple as, well, I don't fit here, then you need to find where you fit here, because there is a place for you if you landed on this planet. There is a place for you. So it's like, what are we not getting that makes us feel like we don't fit? What are we not expressing about ourselves that we can't seem to come to terms with or accept? And I'm not saying you can't talk. I'm not saying you can't be cosmic and etherical, and you can't have these amazing journeys, amazing visitings, amazing communication. You can have all those things. But if you're doing that 90% of your day, and you are doing the human shit 10%, astronaut you are. I am sorry, but astronaut you are. You are allowed to go on shamanic journeys. You're allowed to go into astral. You're allowed to have out of bodies. You're allowed to talk to gods, angels, deities. You're allowed to talk to energies, spirits, demons. You're allowed to do all of that. But then we're going to have to reel your
It's
fishing line
reality.
in because you got other shit you got to do here too. So you got to ask yourself, why is the allure of something else that's outside of you, because all of that's outside of you. You know, we're connected. All of that's outside of us. Why is the allure of that so great that it pulls us with our entire being off our rocker?
But
Right?
that's the thing. You just said pull you off your entire being. Most people don't like to admit it, but you've been running from shit your whole life. So then you get on on your spiritual path and you're like, well, this isn't fun. I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. Ooh, but shiny thing over there. Let's go there. And then when you're doing that, you're literally running from the path you're claiming you want to be on. And you touched on it. Everybody wants to give themselves a label. I'm this. I'm that. I identify myself with these kind of beings. You are limitless. You're limiting yourself when you do that. But then you're literally doing it like let's go all the way backwards. You're looking for a place to belong and to fit in and this and that. So you're giving yourself a label, or your ego is, that makes you feel more important than other people so that you can then facilitate or orchestrate some kind of unbalanced relationship that has been labeled by your ego.
And it's just wild though, but it's not even like, cuz I don't want to bridge too heavy into shadow and into like
No,
spiritual psychosis, because we have a
no.
whole podcast on that. You can have
Correct.
fun with that. But this is really about the importance of why that shit is dangerous.
Yes.
Like, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's difficult because what ends up happening is that you get disconnected from you.
Mhm.
You get disconnected from everything else going on. Not only your reality, not only what's possible in the physical realm, aka our laws of our physics, how things work, how humanness is designed, right? Like that kind of a stuff. But it's also coming into the idea that now all of a sudden we're not even being us, we're not feeling us, we're not being our human self, we're not engaging in the world around us. We are quite literally escaping in our mind's eye.
Yep.
Anything, I said this, I've been saying this all week because I feel like it's so purposeful. And I said it way, way ago, and then I kind of just leave it alone. But like, poison is anything in excess.
Yes.
You
Yes.
go
I love you.
anywhere in excess, it's poison to the body, it's poison to the
Yeah.
energy, poison to the vessel. I'm going to tell you, like, it's great to blow open your third eye. It's great to illuminate your crown. It's great to be in your upper dantians. It's great to stretch beyond yourself. It's great to find interconnectedness and solid connection and belonging in a bigger thing than you, because we are just a speck when we're in a human life, right? Those are
Correct.
all really deep rooted, fantastic fucking things. However, like, however, there's a different node to everything. When you start going up and you have not gone down, right? You have not gone deep into yourself. You have not unpacked shit. You've not understood yourself. You've not really gone to the depths of your own soul, right? Your own being, your own experience. When you go up, like you said, shit don't make sense. You get half
No.
messages, your shit don't make sense, stuff scares you, you get freaked out. A lot of it becomes like this, like you have to figure it out. Now we're playing Blues Clues, and now what are we doing? We're chasing our tail, but we're chasing it further from ourselves.
Yep.
It's drawing us further and further and further away from the center. The center is where you need to be. The center is where the magic happens, baby. Like, it's great. You can cast that fishing line and you can rope something really far away. That's awesome. But eventually it's a catch and release. You gotta let it go, buddy. Like, and that's one of those things. It's like, you're gonna be given what's for you. You can always go out and make grand connections. But the idea is you return back home eventually. Even fucking astronauts, they got a base and they land. Like, it's one of those things, like, you allowed to go up, but what goes up must come down.
Must come
Like,
down.
so eventually you're going to have to come up, and the harder and the longer you stay up, you will spend equally as much time down.
Crash and burn. Like that's just you will crash and burn. because you've gotten so out of balance in one direction that when you come crashing back down, it's like the gut punches and the rude awakenings and the disillusionments and the things.
You're gonna be bored. Like, I'm sorry, you're gonna be bored. You're gonna be
Yeah.
bored and you're gonna think something's wrong with you. Why
Yep.
can't you feel things? Why can't I connect? I used to do, and it's great. You just spent a shit ton of time in one area. And now you got to
Yep.
spend equal time in the other. But the stark difference between the nodes of duality are what hit people. And they're like, I think I'm blocked, right? And now we're in this path of being like, I'm the fucking problem. I'm blocked. What's going on? Is someone doing this to me? Who's been out to get me? And what's happening? We're now chasing our tail yet again, looking further and further from ourselves. We're just now blaming reality for it. Right now,
Correct.
we're blaming the physical for it, going, oh, this is everyone else's problem. Oh, they did this to me. Oh, this happened to me. Oh, no, it was you. You chose to spend so much of your energy over in left field that now we have to spend equal amount of energy in right field. You just don't like right field as much because it's the opposite of left field. So if left field for you is exciting experience, there was so much creativity, I was so free, so flowy, I had fun, I enjoyed myself, great. Then guess what left field's going to be? The exact fucking opposite. Knocky knock. Like, yeah, exactly. It's going to be the opposite. It's going to be your low lows. It's going to be boredom. It's going to be stagnancy. It's going to be the rut of doing things in a cyclical nature, right? But that's what happens. And they
Yep.
have to, like, the universe will balance your scales for you when you don't do it for yourself. So if you spend 10 years somewhere, whoo, you got 10 years of something else coming. I'm not saying you're not going to have little ups and downs within those 10 years. I'm just saying the depth of energy is going to be the same on either sides of the scale. So it's like you can choose how you want to experience shit. And I'm gonna be that person. I think we all at some point in our journeys, because of the way that a lot of people awaken abruptly, you will have a lot of people who have hard awakenings. And when I say hard awakenings, I just mean everything's on overload, everything's happening. Your natural humanness is excited. Your soul's like, I remember this shit, B. And now we're like sitting here, we're like, oh my God, right? But we got to come down because the helium needs to be let out just a little bit, right? And then when we come down, like, we're like, oh shit. And then we go through that, like, am I crazy stage? Was I crazy? Did I really do? And then the universe will give you signs of being like, no, but you weren't crazy, but like you did kind of maybe like do a little too much when we were over there. Yeah, right. We did kind of maybe like do a little too much while we were there. So we just gonna sit our butts down. We're gonna be over here and we're gonna figure out we don't need to do so much, right? We're gonna give you what you need. We don't need to do so much.
But like I love that. I love when you're like, I love how you said that, a lot of people have abrupt awakenings, because for a lot of people that starts with the one thing that really hit you, right? That like you said, that woke you up. For a lot of people, it's like that exploration of knowledge is kind of how I call it, or the going down of the rabbit holes, right? But then you find yourself in one and you haven't really fully processed one before you're like, oh, squirrel, here's another one. And you're doing this over and over and over again. And then you're almost so excited, right? So you're all heavy in your air energy because that's your thought, that's your mind. You're exploring all these fucking possibilities. And then you get like, when I say like almost overzealous, and then you're like, I gotta go tell everybody what I found out. No, go sit down.
Resist, red flag.
No. Because what happens? But I'm telling you this. But what happens? You get your fucking feelings hurt. You get your feelings hurt because you had an abrupt awakening. You had a wake up call. Your team guides, the universe, spirit ripped that wool over your eyes. But like your mom or your dad or your bestie or your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or whatever, like they're not there yet. And then here you are, like all up in this air and head and thoughts and constructs that you're trying to like figure out, and you got way too much shit you're trying to figure out. Way too much. So you got to come back down to, like, you got to come back to earth for a second. Like, I know you think you didn't leave and all you're doing is unlearning and relearning and you're just excited, right? You don't necessarily mean to zoot yourself somewhere else, only to realize as a result, you're then almost trying to impress your newfound knowledge, opinions, thought constructs on energy. And I say energy meaning people that aren't quite where you are. And then because you've bypassed all the other stuff and you just skip to the for funsies things, Now you're back to getting your feelings hurt. Now you're feeling rejected. Now you're feeling like so disconnected from people, and that you have nothing in common, and this and that. And then you're in this, what's wrong with me? All these people are being mean to me. You literally just bypassed such an important part of your healing in flew like astronaut mode down all these rabbit holes. And that's why I try to use it that way, because people are like, well, I didn't do this, or I've never even talked to my guides, or you know what I'm saying? They compartmentalize. It's as simple as rabbit holes, and the thirst and the quest for that knowledge and to learn, and realizing that, like, you have to pause. There is an infinite amount of knowledge, wisdom, information, and I want to say it that way. Your wisdom comes from within. It comes from getting to know yourself, and it's always been there. You just haven't discovered it yet. So while you're busy outside yourself, really what you're looking for is just asking you to sit your ass down and take some time with you, and not everything outside of you.
Now, a word from our sponsors. If you are looking for a one-stop shop for all things spiritual, check out the website, www.childofbalance.com. We opened up a Get 5, Give 5 program, and it's all for referring friends and family. We know you guys do it. We want to say thank you because we are always seeing you send your trusted people our way. So visit the website and figure out how you can not only get $5 for doing it, but give $5 to your bestie. Visit www.childofbalance.com. There's no end date. We're just launching it now to say thank you. So if you want a one-stop shop for private spaces, spiritual guidance and assistance, mediumship, mentorship, private readings, shadow work assistance, it's all there. If you are looking for a free tree of knowledge where you can learn esoteric wisdoms, breath work, you can learn about yourself, cultures, spiritual hygiene, spiritual practices, spiritual traditions, and you can just learn about almost anything under the sun spiritual for 100% free, check out the website. And you should become a member. If you're not already a member, www.childofbalance.com. It's 100% free. It'll never cost you money. We would never charge you money. The website is about assistance and community. Take advantage of it, fam. It's a great place to go to unlock your spiritual potential. www.childofbalance.com.
And it leads me to my favorite quote, and I haven't said it in a while, but the center of the universe is the center of you. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you before,
Yeah.
but like for the listeners, but like the center of the universe is the center of you. That's why to understand, you need to understand. That's the
Yes.
holistic principle. What goes out is in. It's the same idea. So just know that when you're bridging to all these things outside of you, like he said, like it's really calling you to also do the equal opposite.
Yes.
You know, it's not only about what are you coming into contact with, who you're connecting, who you're talking to. It's, well, what does that mean for me? Flip it round, dude. Like but what does that mean to you? Great. You talk to a gray alien on planet Blue. Fantastic. But what does that mean to you? Where does that resonate? Why does that
Yep.
jive with you? What is it that energy said to you that was a game changer, right? Like, because there's a reason you're holding on to it. There's a reason you admire it. There's a reason you find it so otherworldly that you're like, this knowledge doesn't exist here, right? Like, you need to find where that connects with you on the inside, because that's actually the important part. But if you're never bridging the gaps between what you're getting and where that hits you,
Yes.
you're not actually completing, when people say completing the mission, you're not completing the bridge. Like, you are just then the scout for everything and anything that comes across your way, but you're actually running nowhere. And Key says this all the time, right? You're having movement. way to go. But like you're not in forward movement.
Nope,
You're
running away.
running in place. We're doing hopscotch with ourselves. We're doing jumping jacks. Like it's one of those things to where it's like the bridge gapping where we pull it back, where we make it work for us, our, humanness, our grounded perspective, how that inner works for us and our energy, our healing, our past lives, like that shit. That's your forward part of your motion. That's where you're bettering your energy, your soul. Some people think they come here to learn a lesson, right? Like, great. That's actually how you do it. I can be aware of everything. But if I have no personal connection to my awareness, I place no action behind it, I don't resonate with anything, like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's no bridges for me there, then it's just awareness, and it does
But
me no good.
I'm so glad you said awareness because, like, we've been through this in our space before. You, well, I'm just saying, hey, because like,
Many a
no
times, many a
judgment,
times.
no judgment. But this is if you take nothing else away from this, you don't have to do anything with every single thing that you get. Every message, every awareness, every if you have your sight abilities, your cards, your dreams. Sometimes the rat race of, well, what do I do with it? Well, what's next? Like that. Sometimes it's just awareness. Sometimes it's you had a feeling 10 years ago and you're like, why do I need to know this? And then a decade later, you're like, oh, right? You don't need to go back and figure out like anything that initially happened. It's confirmation. It's a
Well, and
confirmation to you.
and that's the thing, like, you gotta remember, like, for everybody listening, like, your humanness is the urgency behind
Yeah,
things. Your
yeah,
soul is the consistency behind
yeah,
things. It is the constant. It's the
yeah.
knowing. It's the boom, like, right, like, all of a sudden, whack. That's your soul, right? So, when you get something and you're like, "Oh my god, I need to figure it out." Please know that that's literally your humanness being excited, being enthralled,
Yeah.
you wanna know more, right? It's a lot of it is stemmed from your ego mind, and it's not a bad thing. So, if you are hearing ego and you go, "Ugh, I'm not egotistical," the problem's you, and you probably need to go deal with that because it's just our humanness. It's the most human thing we have on the planet,
Right.
ties us to our vessel and to our physical life experience. It ties us to our shadow. It ties us like it. We're gonna call it the ego. It's the
Yeah.
mask. It's our personality. You'd be boring
Personality.
without
Yeah.
your ego, right? Like so. It's just like okay, great. It's the character we choose to play here. Fantastic. But the urgency comes from, oh my God, what does this mean? I want to know more. Tell me. I don't like to do it. And we all get wrapped in it. Don't worry. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not coming from a place being like, oh, that never happens to me. 2 days
No.
ago, I was like, give me more, please. I want to know what this sign
Yeah.
means. Like, it's okay. But at some point, they're going to give it to you when you, one, ready to hear it. And two, if they wanna give it to you. I'm gonna be whole honest. Sometimes
Yeah.
they unveil things slowly. You're not gonna miss what's for you, and if you can understand that they're not gonna let you miss what's for you. They will
Not
continue to
only
bring it
that,
round and round and round.
when you break through the construct of coincidences, because I think this is important. When you realize that there aren't really any coincidences,
Facts.
not, and everything is purposeful, even if you don't understand the purpose in that moment, sometimes you're being given something in a moment because it's going to make sense later. Like you said, your humanness wants to know right now. That's your impatience. That's your thirst, your desire, your this, your that. Or on the flip side, sometimes it's your fear. Sometimes it's the what ifs. It can be in any of the extremes, right? But sometimes it's because in that moment, it's for a reason that you don't need to know right now. But when you look back later on, you're going to go, oh my God, like now I get it. I totally get it. But the part is realizing there aren't coincidences. And when I say that, I firmly believe that. And I firmly believe, and this is a keys construct. So I'm going to say this right now. I firmly believe, or at least with my team, my whatever. If it ain't going to affect me, I don't need to know about it. I don't need to know about it.
And
If it
that's
is
what
not going to
you'll
have
hear us say, "Stay in your lane," and that's what we're talking about.
genuine,
Put your blinders
that's what
on.
we need. That's correct. That's exactly what we mean. Stay in your lane. So when I work in my own personal space and with my team, my guides, spirit, if it doesn't affect me, then I don't need to be I don't need it.
Which is why
So
we don't do third-party reads for anybody who ever
exactly
gets frustrated. It's because it actually doesn't help you, but it is a poison and it is a distraction. Because the
correct.
whole idea, and like Keith said this before, like the whole idea with anything, and I touched on it lightly, is like it's to lead you back to you. It's
Yes.
to lead you back to your center. It's to lead you back to your authenticity. It's to lead you back to your soul's journey. It's to lead you back, right? So if we're getting enthralled and we're never pulling it back in, we're never reining it back in, we're never going to the depths of things, right? We're only just floating out untethered, right? Like we're not really doing what we're fucking supposed to be doing,
No.
And it's like, I know so many people that it's just like, it's such a way to live. Like, it's such a way to live when we're in full blown astronaut because there's only two sides and they are extreme to both ends. It is
Yes.
extreme elation. Oh my God, my life is fairies and gumdrops and rainbows and all of these things happening, and then we get sucked into love and light. Everything is fantastic, and I'm a goddess, and I'm an angel, and I'm blah blah blah. I'm Archangel Michael reincarnated. Like, stop. First of all, stop. And then it's like, second of all, it's like, but it's just the truth. It's like too much. Like, and everybody knows the people who are more grounded, more balanced. You look at those people and you go, whoa. And it's not a judgment, but you're just like, but what does that mean? What do you mean? I'm here to save the planet. No, you're not. Okay, but what does
No,
that mean? Like, oh, well, because I'm the favorite. No, okay, but what does that mean? Like,
but you
you're
don't.
missing the actual meaning because we're taking it for face value when it's more
Correct.
metaphorical and it leads somewhere else. It's just like there's just so much going on, or it's the opposite, right? I'm being attacked. Everything's out to get me. I need to be protected. You don't understand. They're trying to stop me on my mission because I'm so high and I'm so elevated that the world is out to get me. It's quite a way to live, dude. You are living in one extreme or
Or
the
the other.
other. And that is so much pressure, so much energy on the vessel, on the mind, on the body. Like, that is exhausting. You want to age yourself? Live like that.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, that is something that cannot be maintained long term. And that's why we say what goes up must come down, because eventually you're going to come down and it is going to suck ass. It is 2:22 on the clock. It is going to suck ass because it's, and 33 on our counter. And it's just like, or 30 on our counter. And it's just one of those things, like, it's just the truth. There
Yep.
is nothing wrong with those experiences, but they are an experience. It's when you make them a lifetime that you live apart from your actual life on planet Earth in the 3D is when the problem occurs. Because you actually are learning nothing of value if you can't bring it back into self. And a lot of times it's only in that drop off of cloud 9 that is when you actually start to integrate some things. But you spend so much time upstairs is the way that I want to say that like when you hit the bottom of the basement, now we're a little lost because now we forget what the basement looks like. And now we're like, so what's the truth and what's the lie? But I got so much information and this seems so real in the moment. What's going on? That's where we start to like disorient ourselves. That's where we start to hinder our own journey. The
Yes.
journey is not to know every angel out there and to know everything about how the world works. That's not the journey.
It's not to escape your humanness. You came here to be human.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. You can try, but that's literally dissociation. You're dissociating from, if you believe you have a mission, I'm going to say it. If you believe you have a mission and you came here to be human, and that's your mission. That's your mission, to be human. You came here at a specific time for a specific reason. And you're dissociating from that, doing anything else, you don't understand the assignment in your own construct.
Right. And that's the thing, like it's great if you're like, hey, I'm a Pleiadian and I was put here in a vessel to help teach people how to, I don't know, do telekinesis. Okay, great. Cool. Like, fantastic. But then if you spend all of your time then talking with your Pleiadian brothers and sisters and all of these things, and now all of a sudden we're learning about Pleiadia and all like their landscape and their culture. I don't know their landscape and their like I'm just trying here landscape and their culture and how they mate, how they live, their laws, like what they look like. We're not really on our mission then to teach telekinesis, are we? No, we're
Try.
not. So we're missing the mark there. Like like that's fine. Like we say, everything's a breadcrumb. You get sent something, you get shown something, you intercede communication with whatever or whoever, everything's energy. There's a point to it. It's a breadcrumb. But you gotta follow the breadcrumbs back to the cottage. Because we want you out the woods. We don't want you stuck in the woods. We want you out the woods.
But I love how you say you're missing the mark, because this is something I hear all the time, and I know you do too, where people are like, I am a healer. I am a healer and I'm here to heal people. Hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. Because
My
this
eye
is no,
rolls
this
hard. My eye rolls hard.
my eyes roll hard too. But here's the thing. Healers don't walk around and one call themselves healers, so there's number one. Number two, you heal, but you help others heal by healing yourself. So if you are an astronaut somewhere, you're not focusing on your healing. You're focusing on another construct, another knowledge base, messages, this, that, outside of what you're claiming you came here to do. The only way that you can help heal people is to heal yourself and to lead by example here in this fantastic place that we all reside right now. That is how you help people heal, by being you. Your purpose is to be your authentic self. If you are dissociating from what your authenticity is and giving it another label, you have a problem with just being you, because you need to be something bigger. You're feeling like your purpose is outside of you, when it is really to just be you. It's not like somebody, like you said, you're not going to get your wand and somebody's going to come down here and we're going to do the sorting of the hats. And you go in this house and you go in this house and this is where we're going. You find you, and when you live your life in accordance with what feels right for you, you're living your authenticity. You're living a purposefully. That's the assignment. Because when you do it, your energy ripples and shows other people how to do it. But if you get caught in those that upper dantians and that always escaping what's right here, you're again missing the mark.
Well, and that's the thing, and like the healers, like healers is such a loaded term. I think the deeper and deeper I get into myself and
Yep.
into our practice and our business, the more it just seems to be getting clearer, I think, in the way that I view things. Because it's
Yep.
so important. Like labels are great, and we have a whole labels and limits, so go listen to that. But like labels are great for context clues. The idea
Yes.
that you call yourself a healer is fantastic. It means you house healing energies. You want and have a drive to help others. You're
Yes.
giving, you're caring, you're empathetic, right? No matter how you choose to heal, whether that be emotionally, mentally, energetically, maybe you do physical healing, maybe you don't, like it doesn't matter, right? Healing energy is healing energy. But there's a difference, because the best healers usually heal themselves first. Like,
Yep.
not only because you're the tool that you're sharpening, how the hell are you going to heal somebody else if you're doing energy shit and your shit's all fucked up? Like, how are you going to put hands on somebody doing Reiki and this and that? Well, I know it's not a requirement, shadow work, for Reiki. And we do have some principles and some inner stuff there. It's not really a requirement to move through the levels. And I can't tell you how many people are Reiki masters because they move through the levels, but they're actually not healed within themselves, which is wild to me. But it's just more and more evident the deeper you go. You know what I mean? And it's one of
Yes.
those things where it's just like, you get to the point where it's just like, you're your tool, you're your magic. So if you are using your energy, calling yourself a healer in whatever capacity, whether it's just your presence is healing, your smile's healing, your laughter's healing, it doesn't fucking matter. If you house a title like a Reiki master or, I do Sekhmet energy, it doesn't really matter. Like shamanism, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're a healer, you're a healer. But you're still the energy. Like you're still the tool. You're still the magic behind the healing that's being shared, given, observed, whatever it is. So you got to work on you. And it's like a lot of times people don't want to do that. Well, I can see somebody else's problem. If you can see somebody else's problem, you can see your own too. So it's like, why are we not looking at what our problems are? Like, and that goes back to that avoidance. So we can get to a whole topic. But it's like, it's also just like healing is sometimes to the unhealed person damaging. And it is a spiritual trap within itself. Like, I'm
Yes.
not even going to get into chakras and all that stuff, but it's literally just the idea that you're not broken, dude. Like,
Nope.
my guy, my lady, like, you're not broken, fam. Like, you're just not. Like,
Nope.
and a lot of it is like, it's turning away from the idea of that I'm blocked, that I'm stuck, that I'm restricted, that somebody did this to me. And it's just the idea that, no, you just struggle with accepting yourself.
Yep.
You struggle with accepting who you are, what you are, how your energy works, what you believe in, your upbringing, your reality, your existence, your experience. That's where you struggle. And because we struggle with those things, it muddies up the energy. So then we don't feel whole. Well, you're right. I put patches over a light bulb and I'm wondering why the light's not shining bright. It's like, yeah, because you put something over to cast a shadow over the light. You just blocking your own shit, but the light bulb's still behind all the things you put on top of it. You haven't lost the light bulb. You're not fucked up. Nobody shattered the light bulb against the wall and was like, it don't work no more. Glue it together. That's not how it works. It's just that we covered it up. That's why it's called masks. That's why people call them shadows, right? Like, and we say you got to get down to the depths of your shadow. You know what I mean? You got to get down to the depths of your shadow so that all this shit can be uncovered and revealed. And it's like, but that's so important. That is so important because it's like, take a flashlight. I say this all the time. Take a flashlight. Shine it in a bright ass room. You're like, oh, that's not too bad. Now, great. Go in a closet. Don't stay in the closet. I'm going to ask you to come back out, but go in the closet. Turn your flashlight on. How goddamn bright is that light? You have to go into your shadows to realize how bright you shine. And it's like, then you take your flashlight out, and now we're not questioning how bright we shine because we know how fucking light it is. And especially, like, that's what's hard is, like, you get to a point where you get comfortable in yourself. You realize you, like, forget how magical you are, B. You forget how fucking awesome you are until somebody who walks around in their shadow, in their darkness, goes, I could really use some of your light. And you're like, oh shit, stick around. I'll hold space for you. I don't mind being a guiding light if you need one. But I'm just helping you find your own light. I'm shining a little bit of light so you can find your own flashlight because I know you dropped it here somewhere. And it's like that kind of a thing. But it's hard. I'm getting goosebumps all over, but it's like it's hard when we talk about healing because it either, like, for a lot of people, it either fits in a box or it doesn't. And when it doesn't fit in a box, it gets discarded. And it's like, but that's so unfair. That's so unfair to who you are as a person, to who you are as a healer. And it's just like, if you are healing people and not yourself, you have to ask yourself, why are you not deserving of being healed too? Why do you feel that you need to go throughout life as almost like a martyr or as in the lesser form of yourself? Like you deserve to be healed as much as your patients, your clients, your friends, your family deserve to be healed. Your soul
Why are
family
you
deserves your
showing up?
energy.
Why
Yeah,
are
well,
you showing up for everybody but you? Showing up in ways for everybody but you. Why are you undeserving? What do you need to deal in your self-worth, your self-love, your self-respect?
well,
Because
I'm
you'll
so
do this for
happy.
everybody else.
I'm so happy you just touched on self-worth because a lot of times when I find people in astronaut stage, right, when they
Yes.
come to us, because they do, I don't know what the hell it is about me that says I'm accepting. Maybe that's just really what it is because I really don't give a shit what walk of life you came from. Like, if you're a good
Correct.
person, we gonna be just fine. Like,
Yep.
but it's like, I swear, it must be written on my forehead somewhere. I have so many people that reach out with these like off the wall questions or shit don't make no sense, and they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. They don't know what's going on, all this stuff, and it's like, whoa, okay, like we can come over here and it's gonna be okay. And it's like, we give you a place to land. And I'm not
Yes.
selling our shit. I'm literally saying it's like you will find people that do that self-worth thing. It's like we go so far out from ourselves because we deem anywhere but us a
Good
place to
enough.
be good enough. And sometimes I find people who will bring me so much crazy stuff. Like, I can't tell you how many questions I get, especially on live. Like, well, do you talk to this person? Do you talk to this entity? And they want to know because they want to compare themselves. Well, I can talk to this. I can talk to the Brotherhood of the Five. I can talk to this. I can do this. Like, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's not like a compare because they want to level, they want to resonate. It's a compare with, well, I'm only going to work with somebody who's on my level. So now they're starting to think that's like, well, if they don't understand what I'm talking about. But then when you actually sit down and you go to help and you go to answer questions, you realize like, oh, but we spent so much time trying to climb the ladder that we haven't even opened the cellar door to ourselves. We haven't even opened the shit that we have going on.
But that's it. I mean, but that's why it isn't rooted in the self-worth. Because most people, if they're honest with themselves, they've never felt good enough. They've never felt okay to be themselves. They've been put on a mask since they were little, whether they even realized they were doing it or not. So pretending to be anything other than who they were was their normal. So when you jump into your awakening or your abrupt awakening or your spiritual path, that's your current mindset. Until you unlearn that and get to the root of it and go in your shadow, you're going to continue the same behavior that you have your entire life, which is thinking that who you are isn't good enough or that you weren't accepted. So you pretended to do this or sought out this or changed yourself in these ways to get acceptance. So you come over, and I'll just say it because, there's toxicity everywhere. But
Yep.
sometimes people come into the spiritual community looking for their soul family, looking for that connection. So then they come in here thinking they have to be something that they're not because they're so desperate to connect. And I don't mean desperate in like a foul way. I mean literally just
No, but
aching
it's
and
just that
wanting.
longing energy that
Yes. And
everybody has it at some point.
yeah.
Like they do.
And the thing is, you've even got to understand. Like, I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. It's a whole other. Your soul family can sometimes just be for a season. It can sometimes just be for a week. It could be for a month. It could be for years. It's where you resonate at that certain point in time.
And I'm gonna
And
tell
then,
you, dude,
and
like
then
free
things
will
change.
gets in the way. Like free will
Yeah.
gets in the way. You can
Yep.
resonate. You could be meant to have been put here on the planet. You could have been homies in the background. You could have
Yeah.
millions of lifetimes. You guys could have been like we did this in one other podcast at one point. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was energy cords. It was something where it was like
Something.
you could be,
Yeah.
married in one life. You could be enemies in another, but you could have
Yeah.
been going around and around and playing different characters to each other. Fantastic. You got dropped here. And maybe because of that person's free will choice of their life, their experiences, what they're willing to look at, what they're not, where they're headed in life, like all of those things are our free will. And maybe your free will takes you on a separation from your soul
Yes.
family for a second. And I'm not saying
Yep.
it's never coming back. I'm just saying
No.
that
Correct.
because we're in a vessel, our vessel kind of has majority. I don't want to say that, but like our like vessel has majority. So if our
Yep.
free will goes nope, then our energy's headed in a different direction.
Correct.
Like, and that's the reality of it.
In your
I can
free
tell you
will,
how many. Yeah, go ahead.
unpopular opinion, but your free will, that choice you make, that's where you're choosing to align. Your free will is where you're choosing to align. So when you choose enough times, you're changing your alignment. When you're consistent in your free will to choose, to do things differently, to be uncomfortable, to do the things, you will change your alignment. For those that stay in comfort, stay in the things that they know, stay whatever their choice is, not good, bad, whatever. They've chosen their alignment. That's when we get into, gapping. We're not doing that today, but that's the whole point. So then things change in your paradigm. But because, like you said, your humanness kind of has the advantage. And when it says, nope, free will, nope, we're not doing this, things change. Doesn't mean things can't change again or shift again. But don't think that you're always doing something wrong or that you have to change who you are to get in where you can fit in. Because sometimes you're actually doing exactly what you're supposed to do, but the shakeup comes beyond your expectation of how it was supposed to be. Your
Yeah.
soul fam isn't always forever. It's for this present moment. It's for the right now, where you align and everything it flows with where you're at. Don't get so far in, like you said, in your upper dantians, in being the astronaut, that you've got to be something other than anything that you are. Because who you are is enough. It's only when you think you're not that you get too far off in one direction or the other.
Now, a word from our sponsors. If you are looking for a one-stop shop for all things spiritual, check out the website, www.childofbalance.com. For those of you who truly appreciate handmade products, we have a handmade shop. Everything is made to order, blessed, saged, and sent out as quick as possible. We have anything from handmade sounds for meditation to chakra chain macrames to tree of life macrames with inlaid crystals to herbal blends like bath teas and dump and go specials to road opener mixes to kits and oils and so much more. For those of you who enjoy taking spiritual classes and courses but maybe can't fit it into your busy schedule, we have self-study courses, and everything can be found in the handmade shop. The website is about assistance and community. Take advantage of it, fam. It's a great place to go to unlock your spiritual potential. www.childofbalance.com.
And I just feel like it's important because when we start talking about elements, like, you know me, I love some elements, and I don't even begin to touch the surface when we do like lives and reads and stuff like that. But it's like when you start working with elements, dude, like, you got to remember that there's 5 elements. Yeah, it's earth, air, fire, water. Fantastic. There's a 5th one though. And that 5th one, depending on where you want to pull from what cultural background, can mean a lot of different things, but they're all saying pretty similar to the same thing. So when a lot of people are saying like, I don't, I get balanced, I want to be balanced, but like life gets in my way. I want to do this, but this. I like to teach it sometimes from like the Taoism space, because for the beginner, making that 5th element not about your etherical connection, but about space is fantastic, because that puts you in your observation. That's that disconnect, right? In order to get interconnected, right? And it's like that space where there's space and time for everything is fantastic when you're talking about balance and circles. So it's like, yeah, you can do that thing. You can go explore that area of spirituality. You can put balance in everything. So a little bit at a time, because we need to make space for other things. And a lot of times when I deal with a lot of people who I would deem, in their upper dantians, astronauting, need to come down for a second, need to ground. I'll tell you, like, we really need to pull you out of the clouds. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've said that in a while though. Like, we really need to pull you out of the clouds. It's really just because we're spending too much time somewhere where we are negating the rest of the wheel of balance. And then now all of a sudden, time is escaping us. We don't have space in our life for things. We feel rushed. We can't get anything done. And then what happens is, when we don't get the things that are very minimal done in our life, right? Then the rest of our emotional body, our light body, starts to collapse. We feel like we have zero control. Now we feel chaotic and out of control. We feel like we can't do anything right because we can't accomplish anything, because this, and this. And now all of a sudden we can't do the things that we want to do, and we just want to do the things that we want to do, but we have to do everything for others. So now we're laden with burden and obligation. And right. So it's like, when we're talking about all of these things, And people go, well, I don't really care about balance. I just want to live a good life. To live a good life is to live a balanced life. And that doesn't mean you're like, I can't go do the fun things. Nah, fuck that. Like, go shoot you rocket, my guy. Like, go have fun. But it's like one of those things like, but then we gotta do some responsibilities. We gotta do some day-to-day things. Like, you're allowed to have fun. It's like sometimes you gotta teach, like, we tell you guys you're not apart from your child self. And sometimes you gotta parent yourself. And a lot of people don't talk about it. Like, sometimes even because you're an adult and you got adult money, you got to make adult decisions too. Sometimes you got to tell your kid, like, you got to tell your kid self and really just you, like, hey, like, you got 5 more minutes of playing that video game and then we got to go get shit done. Yep, you can do organization, like, but we've been organizing the house all day. We got to hit the swing set. Like, and it's stuff like that where it's like you got to balance it both ways, but you got to parent yourself. You know what I mean? And it's like you gotta let yourself be the kid, but you gotta parent yourself. And there's a lot of that is really difficult to do when you're not grounded, when you're not in your vessel, when you're not in your perspective, when you're not living your life, when it's just happening to you and you'd rather be anywhere else. Like, it's like that's where we get so lost. And when like, I have 90% of people that find me and they are lost, they're either one of two things. They are way too much earth energy. Now we're suffering from depression, stagnation. We lack motivation, fire, passion, right? We're almost like a rock, a boulder, we're a couch potato. Or we are floating. We are floating. We're in the 9/12th dimension realms of Asgard, and I guard the bridge because I'm like, right? Like, we're like way up there. Yeah, we're like way up there. And that gives us the same thing. That's the same problem. Like, the same exact problem. Like, you feel lost. I don't understand what's going on. Of course you don't understand what's going on. You can't tie it back to you. It's so damn high. And your roots are minuscule. I can't grow like, and like, I saw this, like, this is what I love is like they did like a slab that they cut like deep earth and they planted different plants and they showed you native plants. Native plants that were 4 feet tall had roots that were like 8 feet deep. They didn't need to be watered that often. They sustained themselves. They could endure extreme of any kind of environment. And then you have our modern plant that was like 2 foot deep roots, 9 foot tall above ground, and it was like, I think I caught a cold sore, and like the thing would like die, right? Like, you know what I mean? I think I'm allergic to tap water. Like, that kind of a problem where they're just like, how did we get here? And it's because we just did what we wanted to do. We negated the responsibility of getting deep roots because we were like, well, we don't need the roots that deep because, it's not that deep. We just got to keep going up. Going up ain't the problem. You can climb the ladder. If I don't secure the ladder to the ground and the ladder's tumbling down, I could blow your ladder down, huff and puff. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, a lot of times we get into that, and I see that come to us all the time in one extreme or the other. And then it's like once we start merging together and we start bringing them back into center or just helping people realize that it's okay. Like, we're not doing it for you. We're giving you the tools to do it for yourself because I truly fucking believe that there's not a single thing you can't do. I had a fucking buddy, like, my homie, who used to like drill that into my ass. And it's not because nobody else had ever said that to me. It's just because that motherfucker actually believed it. And you just need one person who actually fucking believes it. You just need one fucking person who's like, no, I see you. It's okay. I believe your ass. Like, I believe in you. I believe what you're doing. I believe that what you're seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting is all legit. That's fantastic. But now we got to make sense of it. So come on over here. What does that actually mean to you? Grounding is what you need to go really high and make fucking sense of it. So if you want to go high and you want to make sense of it, you want to talk to seraphim angels and you want to talk to aliens and you want to learn about Bigfoot and whatever else the fuck you can imagine out there, Pleiadian, this, that, like whatever it is. I know you guys can't see me. I'm reaching to the sky. I talk with my hands. I'm Italian. Get over it. But it's like one of those things where it's like I'm reaching to the sky. Like, if you want to do all that shit, go ahead and do it. You got to make time for yourself. You got to make the time and place for it. You got to come back down to earth because there's shit you have to do as a human too. But in order to make any sort of logical sense, what's your logic? Your humanness? Oh my God, it's the most human thing you have. It's the slowest moving energy that you're going to come in contact with 90% of the time, unless you're going like below yourself into demonic kind of like lower level energy stuff. 90% of the world is slow. It moves a slow pace. It's dense earth energy, right? So we're going to have to slow down the speed. We're going to have to reel it in so we can make sense of it. Because then we're just floating around like a fart in the wind, and then we don't have direction. We don't know if we're going north, south. We don't know if we're upside down, topsy turvy. Like, and then that's what happens. We can't make any damn sense of it. And that's where you get lost, because your ego, your humanness, your mind wants to make sense of it. It desperately wants to understand under the weight of its own head.
Yes.
And then when we decide, whoa, we don't need to make sense of it, like, but not in a good way of like, I'm just going to let it go. And my guides will lead me to whatever I need. No, but in the way of being like, it doesn't make sense. Ha, ha, ha. And then all of a sudden we're like co-signing our own bullshit to where it's like, it doesn't make sense. Then all of a sudden we're like, our ego is inserting things that are going to make it make sense. And the more things our ego inserts, it's like, but that doesn't make sense either. Because then you tell a buddy, you tell your rational friend, and your rational friend's like, why don't we sit down? I'm going to call the police because you're not okay. Right. And like, that's where you get into trouble. Like, if you can't, like, I'm not saying you can share with everybody everything, but I'm just saying, like, if you, my left ear's ringing, if you have that friend who's like ride or die with you, and then like all of a sudden it's just like, what? Hold up. Wait a minute, something ain't right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you have that moment, and you guys like need to have that heart to heart. Like, just know that they're not hating on you. If it's really that buddy, they're not hating on you. They're like, wait a minute, I'm gonna need you to slow it down and make it make sense for me, right? Like, if you can't take the really airy, etherical things and deconstruct them and bring them way down and make sense of them and then shoot them back up, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I'm sorry, you're doing it wrong because there's no purpose to it then. And that means you don't really know what you're being shown, what you're being taught, what you're being exposed to, what you're communicating with. You don't really know it from an inner soul vessel. You don't really know it. If you can't break it down to its simplicity and then reconstruct it in a practice in a way that it works for you and shoot it back up there, right, on repeat, then really you're taking it at face value and you're trying to be pompous with it, and we're trying to show it off. And you're doing it for the wrong reasons. This is why we say intention is, this is why we say intention is everything. And I don't mean that from the sense of being like, the tools you use don't matter. No. I'm saying in the fact that, like, you have to understand what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's coming out of your face hole, and you need to be able to discern what you're working with. But if you can't discern yourself, you are not properly discerning anything outside of you. And you can't see me right now, but my head is shimmy shaking left to right. You cannot discern a single thing outside of you. And that's where you need to start. Because before you go making deals, before you petition anything, before you start having intimate conversations, before you start getting into channel and letting yourself be loosey-goosey, opened up, unprotected, whatever it is, like, you need to have
your energy.
exactly, because I'm gonna tell you what, not everything's out for your greatest highest good.
No.
It's
Correct.
not. It's the natural world. Not everything's out for team tease or team me or like, no, I'm sorry, it's not. You know what I mean? And your team can't interfere in your free will. So if you let something in, you let it in.
Correct.
Now you can undo it, but like, that's your free will. So you gotta be careful when you work with shit that you know what the hell you're working with. And you want to get that discernment down pat. Learn yourself. Learn where your energy stops, where something else starts. Learn what you feel like. Learn what your shadow, your thoughts, your shadiness looks like. Because I don't care what anyone says, and I said this, I think, in live today or yesterday, where it's like everyone's got the same problems. I don't care what anyone says. The more and more I work
We have
with
the
people,
same emotions, is what you said. We all have the same emotions.
yeah, it's the same thing. Like, we all have the same problems, dude. The more and more I work with people, like, you all got the same wounds. You all got the same problems. The only thing that changes is the level of the wound, the depth of it, when it occurred, the time and the instance around it, how big of an issue, right, it is for your individual energy. It
Yes.
doesn't matter if you have a mother and you have a father at home, you have a father wound, you
Everybody.
have a mother wound, you have a
Yep.
family problem. Everybody does. Whether you physically had a family or they were never in your life, there is a wound there that needs to be accepted. There's a piece and a part of it. No matter how small or how fucking engulfing it's been, you have it. Everybody has some sort of a trust wound, whether it's you trust people to be shitty or you trust too much. Everyone has a trust wound, right? Like, it's one of those things like, you have a fear of something. I don't care who you are. You're human right
Yeah.
now. You have a fear of something. And if you have zero fear, you're lying to yourself and that's your problem. Like,
Yep.
and it's one of those things like we have the same shit because we all human and human egos, human vessels suffer from the same shit. We have it in different levels, and those different levels and those capacities, those instances when they occurred in our life, what the trigger points were, how big the trigger was, when it happened, that's your individuality. That's
Yeah.
what makes you different from everybody else. But I'm gonna tell you, like, just as we wrapping up, and I know Keys, you got shit. I can see on your face, like you got shit to say. So it's like one of those
Oh,
things where it's just
no,
like,
I actually don't.
oh wow, that's a first.
I
That's
don't.
crazy. Usually when I get like wild, you always have something wild to say. But it's just like
I'm
one
gonna
of those things.
let that marinate with everybody. I'm gonna just be quiet.
But it's just like one of those things where it's just like, it's humbling and you got to realize, dude, like you're not that different from the people you're part of, and the people you're separate from. And like that's the idea is that's that oneness. You're not really separate. Like I like the soul in me recognizes the soul in you because we're not that
Mhm.
different. Because I've been there and I see it. I see you, you see me. It's that kind of an interconnectedness to things. But it's like sometimes you got to kind of check our own egos sometimes and our own want to be seen and admired and whatever, right? Like that ego side of us that just maybe didn't get that a lot in life or whatever the F, you know? And it's one of
Yep.
those things like there's always going to be somebody that's worse than you. Doesn't matter if it's in trauma, if it's in physical life, if it's in abilities, it doesn't matter what it is. There is always somebody worse than you. Guess
Yes.
what? Dualism's a bitch and there's always someone better than you. So don't for a second think you top of the food chain. You know what I mean? And it's like that's that humbling. It's like you could look to your left and be like, "Oh my god, I'm better at this than that person." Look to your right and be like, "I can't do that though." Like, and it's okay, but that's that humbleness you got to sit with. You know what I
Yep.
mean? We can't ignore that part of ourselves. It's not just about going up and up and up and up and up into the clouds. It's about taking what we learn in the clouds and bringing it back down and going, "Oh shit, what does this mean to me? What does this actually?" And I can guarantee you, you will be called to look at the same thing multiple times in different legs of your journey because there is more than one truth with everything you pick up. And it doesn't matter where you picked it up from. Doesn't
You're
matter
right.
where you picked it up from. The depth of the knowledge you gain will change with the depth of your growth. It'll change with the depth of yourself, the way you evolve, the way you open up, the way your shit turns for you and your individual energy. You can learn something once, go back around maybe a year later, 2 years later, a couple months later, look at it again. They bring it back. You're like, I already know this, right? That's the first thing. I already did this. Look at it again. You're like, oh shit. Did I
There
miss
it
that the
is.
first time? Right? Did I miss that the first time? And then now all of a sudden you're like, did I just put together a whole puzzle? You did.
You
Congratulations.
did. Yes,
But
you
you would
did.
only get there if you brought it down from the clouds. If you took that
Correct.
souvenir home and you went home. Like, leave the
Yep.
clouds for the clouds. You know what I mean? If you love something, you're gonna leave it as it is when you go, right? We're not making a home in the clouds, right? We want to travel to the clouds. People are like, "Oh, you like a butterfly? I like a butterfly. If we take it home, leave it there, because then the butterfly will be there next time." You know what I mean? I'm not trying to ride the butterfly to the hills. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine? Did anybody else just get a cartoon for my people who are listening? Did anyone else just get like a cartoon of like of a round like cartoon like what Fern Gully? Riding like with like nobody can see us, but we have little horse reins.
We're riding, and
We
nobody
have
can see.
bridles. We've now bridled a butterfly. Like, but it's just one of those things where like it's fun and we make it fun. You know what I mean? But the reality of it's pretty scary when
Yes.
you find yourself floating unable to land. It's
Yes.
pretty scary. And you don't realize you're there until somebody points it out. I can tell you that from experience. You don't realize you're there until somebody else points it out, whether that be your team, a friend, I don't know, maybe doing a doom scroll on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or some shit like that. And you're like, oh, and someone just happens to say something and you're like, oh. It's like, it's okay to get a read from somebody. It's okay. But now that you have the awareness, right? You have the knowledge.
What are you gonna do with it?
That's your responsibility. What the hell are you going to do with it? So I just hope that helps. It's a funny topic, but it is extremely important because it's balance in all things while honoring oneness, while honoring your connection to everything. And I don't know why I feel the need to say this. If you have not shown gratitude to yourself and your team and the people and the things that you work with lately, I suggest you start there because it's a very humbling thing. And to ground yourself is to humble yourself. And I just feel like that's extremely important for everybody right now in the collective. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for listening in, tuning in. Thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Roundtable, where we just really get right down in it, no BS, and we just give you exactly what you need to hear. Not always what you want to hear, but definitely what you need to hear. Thank you for joining myself and Miss Keys of Wisdoms 369 for our talk today. And we hope you join us next week, where we have more straight talk coming right your way. And if you are not a member of the website, but you enjoy conversation like this and free knowledge and learning, we have a free tree of knowledge and you should check it out. Become a member. It's 100% free and you'll find it on www.childofbalance.com. Remember, as you go through this journey, please remember you are to feel your way through everything. Do not stop. Do not make yourself smaller. And always continue to be unapologetically and authentically you, because the world needs more of that.